Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be focusing on a cool toned bridal look. This is the look that I wore when G and I got married 2 years ago, so I'm excited to talk about the colors that I used, why I went with them, and just all of the different techniques that I did for my wedding look. So we're actually going to start off with eyes today. So normally when I get ready for events, I tend to do my eye look first, just because in the event that I have any fallout potentially, I want to be able to kind of remove that from my face before going in with my complexion products. So I'm going to move my hair back. So I even tried actually for this video to try and do the wedding look or the wedding hair that I also had underneath my veil, but it's the poor man's version of it. Doing some primer on my lid here. I'm using the Decay anti-aging primer potion. So now that my eyelids are perfectly prepped, the palette that I'm going to go in with, this is actually from Inglot, and these are 5 shadows that I chose out for myself for my wedding look. You can notice that they're very cool toned. I decided to go with a more cool toned look because G and I got married at the top of a mountain in North Star Resort, which is located in Lake Tahoe. And we got married literally the day after a blizzard. So when I started kind of thinking about the look that I wanted to do, it didn't really make sense for me to do something that was very like bronzy and summery because it was literally the dead of winter when we got married. I knew that I was going to have pretty bad wedding jitters, but I wanted to do my own makeup because I wanted to look like myself. When I was starting to plan my look, I was kind of thinking, okay, I'm not going to do anything that's outrageous or try anything that's, you know, really, really intense in terms of technique. I'm just going to do something that I feel really, really comfortable doing. And I think that actually saved me a lot of effort just going into the day and not having anything else to panic about. I'm going to go in first with my crease shade here and just kind of layer this up. Really starting really, really neutral, just making sure I have a nice transition shade here. And once I have my first layer down, I can kind of continue to go back into the color and continue dipping into it and continue to blow it out and intensify the color. Now I'm going to bring it a little bit lower on my lid, just so when I start to blend some of the other colors in and start to deepen some of this, I still have that transition shade pretty apparent here. I really like all of Inglot's eye products. I think they're all really, really fantastic. This is something that I was super excited to build for myself. It was kind of fun, honestly, just picking out all of these colors. What I really like about them is that it's all magnetic. So you can actually use a magnet and pull these pans out, and then this becomes a reusable palette, which I think is really great. And plus it's so easy to travel with because it's so small. Because we got married at a destination, I wanted to make sure that everything that I was packing and bringing with me in my bridal kit was like relatively travel friendly. So okay, I'm taking the deeper shade now and I'm going to just go ahead and deepen all of this. And I'm going to bring this into my crease and just into that outer corner. And this is where I'm going to start really kind of packing on that pigment. So keep in mind that when you are doing makeup for photography, like you're going to be photographers everywhere, you're getting your photo taken all the time, you want everything to be like, pigmentation wise, you want everything to be just turned up a notch. So you can kind of see I'm starting to create that shape now, adding depth into this color or into this look. Nothing too precise. I want everything to look really, really blown out, very cohesive on my eye, but also giving myself the opportunity to not screw up my eyeshadow, because I actually remember on that day my hands were shaking as I was doing my eyeshadow. I remember building it up and just being like, carefully, carefully, and that was like the theme for the whole hour with me and my bridesmaids as I was getting ready. My sister, who is my matron of honor, basically was just like standing there like ready to go just in case I couldn't go through with doing my own makeup. She was absolutely just such a rock and ready to go, and was like, I got you in case you feel like you can't. I actually have a picture of me doing my makeup, and it's funny because it's when I was doing the liner step, and you can definitely see that I'm just like, oh man, like, am I gonna be able to do this? I'm gonna go back in with my other brush that was handling that lighter crease shade, the transition shade, and I'm just going to lightly, just again, blow this out. So you can see that I pretty much kept the inner half of my eye relatively blank, and that is because I'm going to take one of these lighter shades, and that's kind of where, so bridal looks I feel like are defined yet brightening. So that's kind of what I was trying to achieve with this look. So you can see that this color here, this is a really, really bright shade. I'm going to combine it a little bit with this one as well and kind of create that gradient effect going across my eyelid. I'm going to take this deeper shade first. Man, Inglot shadows are so beautiful. They're really, really nice. The staying power of them also is phenomenal. They will stay on your eyelid all day long. And then I'm going to use this super, super bright shade. So Inglot did a collaboration with JLo. This was like years ago, obviously, now that Garrett and I have been married for 2 years. This is in the past, but I am going to list down in the description box below a shade that I think is similar. So if you're interested in this super, super bright shade, you can still purchase it on their website. And take that on the back of a flat brush. And now I'm going into pretty much that inner corner, and I'm going to brighten everything. So you can kind of see that gradient start to take effect. So there's brightness in the corner, in the inner corner, and then as you look out, it kind of goes deeper and deeper. Now I'm going to go back into the shader brush and go back into that deeper shade here that I placed in the center of my lid. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just make sure that everything is blended in really, really nicely, and just lightly pack it on again right in this transition zone. You can kind of see there's a line right here, right where I placed that bright color. So I'm literally just going to take this and just take that line and blend it ever so lightly, just so it's not too defined. So everything kind of just blows out really, really nicely. And that is pretty much the eyeshadow look. Like, again, I chose colors that I knew were going to, I chose a formula, an eyeshadow formula that I knew was going to blend in really, really easily. Pigmentation was going to be there, pretty much exactly what you're looking for in an eyeshadow, because I just wanted to work with products that were not going to give me any headaches. So if you're looking for something like that for, you know, your own wedding, or if you go to a wedding, I would definitely recommend Inglot shadows. They're just really fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a tiny, tiny bit with a makeup wipe. You can use a cotton pad if you want, with a little bit of eye makeup remover on there. So whenever you use a makeup wipe to clean up the edges, it's going to give you that stark line. I don't know if you can see that right here, but I want to get rid of that. And I'm going to do that just with this brush here. And there's nothing on here again, but I'm just going to lightly bring it to this edge. So it looks like it's like part of your skin, you know, rather than like sitting on top. Now for liner. So if you have shaky hands or you're nervous or anything like that, I probably wouldn't recommend going in with a liquid liner, because unless you're like a total pro at it and you're totally comfortable with it. For me, I was like, nope, I'm gonna go with something that's easy, something that I trust, and that would be the Inglot Eyeliner Gel. If you are looking for the deepest, blackest gel eyeliner, you cannot go wrong with this product. It is really, really phenomenal. What I'm doing is I'm taking my wing liner brush in here, I'm dipping it in, and then because it has, like, you can kind of see when you pull the product from the pot, there's a little bit of extra on the brush. And so what we're going to do is you can take either the back of your hand, or if you have something like a little palette close to you or something like that, you can kind of just lightly tap the edges so that you're getting rid of all of that extra. I'm not doing a wing liner, but I do want a little bit of definition on my eye, so I am going to just do a very, very simple line across my lash line. So one of the tricks too, if you are working with an angled brush like this, is that as I place on the inner part of my eye, I'm kind of holding it like this. And then when I get to the edge of my eye, just because of my eye shape, I'm actually going to flip it around and finish the line just using kind of the longer side, if you can see on that angle. And that's really going to help me just guide everything. All right, I'm actually going to do my waterline eyeliner, and I'm just going to define my eye here. Complexion time! Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prime my face. This is the Origins Original Skin Pore Perfecting Cooling Primer, one of my favorite products. And this is going to just really help me keep my foundation on. So when you start thinking about complexion products for a wedding, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in that day. So you want your makeup to be completely budge proof, and that starts with the primer. So I'm just using something that's going to fill in my pores. I'm going to keep everything pretty much stuck on my face, I guess is the best way to describe it. One of the things that I did was I actually sculpted my face with the Tom Ford's shade in Illuminate before I put on my foundation, so that I would have a little bit of definition already in my face, but it wouldn't be so stark. So I would have my foundation to kind of blend in as well. And I'm going to load up that shade here. This is a very, if you are looking for a cream bronzer or cream contouring shade or contouring product, this is a really, really good one. I don't think that you can go wrong with this. It's pretty foolproof as well. It's easy to blend out. So I'm just gonna lightly define my cheekbone first. This is the part where you look kind of mad, but and I kind of already know where to place it on my face just because I've done this so many times, but it's essentially wherever your, like the apples of your cheeks and right below it. And then I'm going to take this just on my forehead a tiny bit. And on my jawline. My hair is in my way. Okay. And so are my earrings. Let me tilt this way. I actually pulled out all of my wedding jewelry to wear in this video, which was kind of a fun little throwback for me. My friend actually did all of these products for me. She's just an incredible jeweler, and I wanted to go, I have the thing about stars, so I wanted all of my jewelry to be very, very star focused, which is exactly what she did. Okay, so I'm just going to lightly blend the edges here. I'm going to keep a decent amount of that product on my face. And when I place the foundation over, that's when I'll kind of cover up really those harsh lines. The foundation of choice that I went with is the L'Oreal Pro Matte color in 104. This foundation is amazing. I use it for every event that I need to go to because I know that it's going to literally stay on my face for freaking forever, which is exactly what you need when you're getting married. So I'm going to take this on the bottom of a beauty blender.
Just on a...
Well, because it's the bottom of it. So I would say this foundation is probably more of a medium coverage. And as you can see, I'm kind of putting foundation over where I laid down that contour shade. So you still kind of have that definition underneath already because you already created that shadow, but you're putting a light layer of foundation over it just to help it kind of blend seamlessly into your skin and make it look very, very natural. I am going to do another light layer just over my cheeks and the area where I have just pretty intense pores. So you can see that as this foundation dries, it is matte. It is very, very matte. So you can add products to this if you want to kind of get it to brighten or look a little bit more dewy and hydrated. I will show you kind of what I used to achieve that. If you do have those blemishes and you want to cover them up, this is a really, really great product. This is the Nars Soft Matte Complete Concealer. This will literally cover up any single blemish or redness or anything that you may want. It's super easy to blend out. Yeah, I have a little bit of extra like redness right here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I can definitely tell in person that it's really peeking through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this just on my finger. I'm only going to use a little bit. A little goes a long way with this product. So, and I'm just going to lightly tap that in, place that product, and then use my beauty blender again and buff that in. The next product will be under eye concealer. So these are actually two concealers that I did not use for my wedding, but I'm using them today because I think that they're the best that I have. And so this is the Tom Ford Emotionproof Concealer. I'm going to go with the lighter shade first, just to brighten my under eye. This is also a very, very, very long wear concealer. So if you are looking for something that's going to stay on your skin and keep you looking pretty covered, I would definitely recommend this. Going in with that deeper shade now. And I'm just going to take it. I have really bad darkness right underneath my eye in this socket here. So, socket? I guess it's a socket, I don't know. Okay, so now I'm going to pinch my beauty blender into like a triangle shape at the very top, and I'm going to start blending that out. Make that really, really great concealer face. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and powder down my concealer. I don't want it to budge, I don't want it to crease, I don't want it to do any of those things. This is Charlotte Tilbury's Airbrush Flawless Finish Skin Perfecting Micro Powder in the color 1. And instead of swirling on the powder, I'm just lightly tapping it on. I don't want to disturb any of the liquid products that I have underneath. So another thing too, when you're doing wedding makeup, is that you have to be very aware that your makeup has to be flash photography friendly. You don't want to use any products that have SPF in it. SPF is going to give you a bit of a white cast. When the flash goes off, it'll kind of show up. And then with your powders, you want to stay away from like white translucent powders. You want to stick with powders that are as skin toned as possible. And the other thing too is when you're using products that have that skin tone, you are kind of actually adding in an extra layer of color and making sure that everything is really, really nicely covered. This is the same thing, but just in the color 2 medium. I'm going to take a really, really light layer of this and just dust where I don't want any of my pores. I don't want any oil, nothing. I don't want anything to potentially come through and torpedo my foundation. I want it to stay on for hours and hours on end. Now I'm going to use the third powder. I know it's a little bit crazy, but I'm now going to go in with the Hourglass Dim Light. This is their ambient lighting powder. These are absolutely beautiful face powders and they do photograph really, really nicely. I'm just going to take a light layer of this on the same brush and I'm going to kind of just tap this in right where I'm going to start layering down some of my complexion products. But I want a little bit of powder here because I want all of my bronzer, blush, highlight, everything to blend in really, really nicely. Now let's get into complexion products. So kind of going along with the trend of keeping my makeup as timeless and classy as possible, not classy, classic, I didn't want to do like a really, really intense bronzer, a really, really intense highlight. I wanted to just keep things very soft, but still noticeable, I guess, in a way. So this is the Tom Ford Soleil Eye and Cheek palette in the color 5. I think this is a limited edition product, but you can see that these are really, really beautiful shades. I'm actually going to be using this blush and this highlight. You can see that this blush is actually, it looks very, very intimidating, but for a winter wedding, like this was the perfect shade. And I'm going in with highlight first because I want everything to blend in really, really well. I don't want my highlight to just be like a strobe of light like I normally do. Just going to lightly place this on. It's exactly where I need a little bit of freshness, a little bit of glowiness. So just on the top of my cheekbones, just down the center of my nose, a tiny, tiny bit. On the temples of my face, my forehead. And then now I'm going to go in with the bronzer. So for that, I'm using Physicians Formula's Butter Bronzer in their original shade. So very, very pretty, very, very natural, with just a light layer of bronzer. And don't forget to, again, like I mentioned before, when you're doing makeup for photographs, sometimes more is more. Because you do want it to show up. And I'm going to just take a tiny bit of this bronzer and do the tiniest amount of a nose contour. I don't want to do very much. I'm just going to take it down the center of my nose just to create a little bit of a shadow. So I didn't go in with like a really intense nose contour. I just did something that I felt comfortable with, something that would give me a little bit of definition and kind of help my nose. Because let's be honest, like I barely have a nose. So I wanted to do a little bit of something, something to make sure that in the photos it kind of stood out. Let's do blush. Okay. So going back in with the Tom Ford, this really, really intense blush shade. Okay, so I'm actually going to kind of dust all of that off on my hand, really just ensuring that everything goes on really, really smoothly. And I'm just gonna lightly place this onto the apples of my cheeks and blending upwards and outwards. So you can see, like, this is a really, really intense blush, obviously, but the formula itself blends in really, really nicely. And you can kind of just see that like glow start to take place. So my foundation, for the purposes of making sure that it's gonna stay on forever or as long as possible, I'm using glowier powder products to kind of bring that liveliness and color back to my skin and to help it not look so flat. So you can really see in the camera, like, it looks pretty intense, but that's kind of what you want, right? So when you get photographed, everything looks, you know, like you look like, oh, she's a beautiful blushing bride. Ah. Stop giving me that look. You married me. You married me. And one thing I'm going to do is I am going to take my powder brush and just lightly I'm lightly pressing everything back into my skin, allowing all 3 layers that I placed down to really blend perfectly together. We are coming up on the final steps. I haven't done my eyebrows yet. I just remembered. Brows are on. Yay. All right. So the next step is going to be smudging out my lower lash line. So I'm going in with that transition shade on the back of a shader brush and just lightly helping define my eye. And I'm going to take that deeper shade as well and just lightly go over this and continue to build that definition in. It's kind of all about balance, right? So once you have your complexion products on, it's always good to go and revisit your eyes to see, okay, now that you've added all of this color back in, do you like how your eyeshadow looks? Is it standing out enough? Is it kind of matching just what you've already put on? And so that's what I'm just doing now, is I'm intensifying it a little bit, bringing my eyeshadow look up and elevating that pigment to ensure that there's cohesion, if you will. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take that bright color again. I would recommend that if you are going in with a lot of photography, you kind of need to wear falsies. It's just a rule of thumb. And this is my favorite brand of falsies. This is Ardell's Demi Wispies. I'm actually going to hop back off camera, put these on, and then I will be right back after. Now that they're on, I'm going to just take a little bit of my gel eyeliner, and I'm just going to use this to cover up that lash band a little bit so that my eye look is completely cohesive. Really hiding where that lash band is, because we want everyone to think these are just my natural lashes, right? So I'm using Tom Ford's Emotionproof mascara, one of my absolute favorite mascaras. Okay, and then on my lower lashes. Okay, so from lips, I'm going to take Pat McGrath Labs gel liner in the color Buff, and I'm going to use this to line my lips. So the one thing I will say about this lip liner is staying power is amazing. The color is a little bit warm right now, so I created a bit of a concoction on my wedding day in terms of all my lip products to get that perfect like mauve tone that kind of matches with the full look. So now I'm going to apply the lipstick. This is Almay's Worry Less, or Almay's Lip Vibes in Worry Less. Okay. And then the third product I'm going to go in with to just give it a little bit more dimension, a little bit of shine, is Tom Ford's Ultra Shine Lip Color in the color One Bear. So I'm just placing this on the center of my lips, and I'm doing this in a dabbing motion so as not to pull away any of that color that I just laid down. And then the final step now is just setting down my face. So I'm going to go ahead and use All Nighter spray from Urban Decay. Alright you guys, this is the final look. This is the exact look that I wore pretty much for my wedding, and I don't know, I had a really great time sitting here and kind of reminiscing about all of the different products that I used and all of the craziness of that day. So I hope you enjoyed this video, because I know I definitely had fun filming it. Feel free to subscribe to our channel. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye. But we don't want like a chunky gradient, you know what I mean? We want like a smooth transition.
Progressive.
Progressive. Okay.
Also, why is it always on the back of things?
What do you want from me?
It's the back of the brush. Like the eraser end.
Like a pencil? Oh no, it says it. I can't read. Okay. Obi agrees. Hey bud. Hey bud. Did you wake up from your nap? Yeah, okay.